Welcome everyone to my video where I'm giving the deck recommendations that I used to reach Masters after the new patch came out. So the current meta hasn't already been decided, or the current meta does not currently exist, just because the fact that there's so many combinations with the new cards that came out, not just from the new region, which is Bilgewater, but as well as the new cards from every other region that came out, as well as the new champions. So currently there is no specific meta that's being played, specific decks that are just straight up really strong right now that are like A tier, just because of the fact that like there's so many new cards, so many new decks, so many new deck possibilities that have been made and that haven't been made yet. So the current state of the game is that there's so many new decks and the meta is still shifting. So the only thing we can do, as I can do, is just give you decks that I can recommend myself, that I have played and tested out myself, that have been working out for me and help me out to reach high tier master right now. So I'll be presenting those for you right now. So this is a Bannerman deck, and the only non-Demacia card is the Citrus Courier, that I feel like is a great card. Um, and I feel like it's really underplayed for the effect that it gives. Even though somebody could ask, why are you not running Rally that is just a spell for 3 mana? Which, one, they could deny it, even though, yeah, it's probably not likely. But this is just a card that do not really expect too much sometimes. Just because of the fact that, no, it's not just a rally card, it's a rally card that also is a 4-5 unit that's pretty beefy in stats, as well as the fact that it also heals your allies and the Nexus for 3. So in matchups where you're playing versus aggro, not often that you're gonna be at turn 6 or 7 where you might play this card, but some matchups versus aggro, this card is gonna save you with the healing. In some other, because the aggro sometimes does not defend the unit, just because the fact they want to keep their units and attack you back, just because they have effects that deal damage to you. So in non-aggro matchups, sometimes this card will just give you a rally effect that might single-handedly win you the game. I added one Purified just because of the matchups versus Demacia as well, and as well as the fact like it really counters the Endure decks and such. The second deck is the classic aggro deck, just with the Monolith. Recently there have been a deck which only uses Draven and a deck that has no champions. Those decks are complete aggro and usually win by turn 5 or 6 or 7, or they lose by turn 7. They run out of cards if they're playing versus some sort of a control-ish or a control deck, and if you are not able to kill them by turn 7 or such, you're pretty much gonna lose. While I feel like the half burn, half aggro deck, such as this one that I made myself, I feel like it's still really strong and could potentially really be well right now, as well as the fact that those decks do not have transfusion. Some of them do, some people added it into the mix and stuff, but some of them do not, and like a transfusion is a spell that I feel like is really strong right now. And suit up is something that nobody expects because nobody really plays it, though I feel like it's a really good spell sometimes, because this deck does have drawal with Rummage and with the Experimenters, so it's very likely that you might get this for 2 mana when you draw it, and rarely people will expect a 2 mana burst spell that gets a unit to 4/4, as well as the fact that you do have double Get Excited, just in case this is you draw this and you cannot play it, and so it's a 4 mana spell. Even then, it's not bad, but it's not too good. So you might still remove it with Get Excited if you do not have Vision in hand or a Flame Choppers to remove with your Get Excited. Other than that, it's pretty much a standard aggro-ish burn, half discard deck. Or whatever. Okay, moving on to the next one. This one is a deck that I made myself completely with the help, actually, Maverick. Some of you might know him. He's a big streamer on Twitch as well. Definitely much bigger than me. And he's a cool guy as well that knows a lot about the meta, knows a lot about the game itself, and he helped out a little bit by making this deck. He recommended I add Ruthless Raider to the deck, which felt really good here, and the deck seems pretty good. So this deck I used from Diamond 2 to reach Masters. It looks weird and clunky, but it actually isn't. Um, Ignore the one flash freeze that some of you might be confused about. Trust me, it really helps against some matchups. The other cards, though, have really good combination, like Omen Hawk buffing units and Starlight Seer buffing units with spells, which you have an abundance of, as well as the fact that you have Warning Shot to trigger Plunder for the Shared Spoils, trigger Plunder for Pilfer Goods, Black Market Merchant, and the Tusk Raider. So the card is 0 mana, of course, so you might lose up on cards, but the good thing in this deck is that there's a lot of drawal, so you can draw cards with this card, you can draw two cards from the enemy deck with this card, you draw cards with this, so, and Tusk Raider also draws you card, and Twisted Fate can also draw you cards if you need. So the card draw is very solid. Buffing up units is very solid, definitely with Tusk Raider, and finishing up the game with Sejuani with double stats as such as 10-12. And during the course of the game, Misfortune and Twisted Fate, if he uses a red card, with Warning Shot and Make It Rain, can give you enough um, spells and units, as well as the Overwhelm units with Wolf Rider and Raider, that will trigger the Sejuani level up, as well as the fact that you have Raider, which will give you a Mana Crystal, which will help you build up, as well as the fact that you do have card draw and you do have beefy units, so you do not really need more removal except for Make It Rain. So the next deck is pretty standard-ish. It's a Nautilus deck, but it does have one Maokai that I put in that I feel like it might be a mistake, but in the games I played, I felt like Maokai felt okay in this deck. Sometimes it will not help you too much, but it's some matchups, possibly versus another player that plays Nautilus, Maokai will be the card that could decide and win you the game. And apart from that, pretty standard, except for I put 2 Veils, 1 Grasp, and 1 Vow Feast that help you deal with aggro decks to help you against those, as well as 1 Atrocity to potentially just win the game in late game if you do have a lot of beefy units, and in some matchups you might not be on your turn and he might be trying to finish the game, and Atrocity might save you from that situation. And the last card is the standard Quarantine deck that I made back when I won the Monokunas tournament. And this deck is very similar to the one I used before. The only changes I made is I added the Caretaker, which seems like a great card for this deck. It's a 3 mana card that basically drops down 3 units for the Deku Endure, as well as the fact that they have Challenger, that from which you kill a spider and to create the Challenger units, and that help you with clear, of course. And I put down 1 Maokai. So the reason behind this Maokai is you do have a lot of units that keep on dying and feed Deku Endure, as well as the fact that it also helps feed Maokai. So in some matchups where you're playing versus, for example, Karina Control, where you essentially, your board is dying the entire time, and when you put down Deku Endure, he might still kill it with Vengeance, and the win condition versus Karina Control is sometimes really problematic to win. and I felt like Maokai could help out in that situation where you basically cannot get to the point where your Daehundir can finish the game versus Karina Control. And Maokai seems to be winning that matchup sometimes. So I feel like the card fits in here okay, or well, or whatever you might call it. So whoever disagrees, just you can drop down Maokai, remove him, and play one other card and play it like that. But I advise to try it out with one Maokai and see how it goes for you. Thank you all for watching. That seems to be all. These are the decks that I used, and they all worked out for me pretty well. Good luck to you all. See you all next time.